Hi divers, Alec Peirce once again with some tech tips from Scuba 2000. Some ideas that might make your diving a little easier, a little more fun, maybe a little safer too. What I'd like to share with you today is some of the new developments in regulator construction, and specifically hoses. The regulator itself, your breathing device, as you know, is really comprised of three things. It has a first stage that attaches to the tank. This device right here attaches to the tank, reduces the tank pressure from 3,000 psi down to intermediate pressure around 150. It also has a second stage that goes into your mouth. This part goes into your mouth. That allows you to take air from that 150 psi when you want it. You suck in, you get air, you blow out, the airflow stops, it exhales, and so on you go. And then the third part is the hose that joins the two. There isn't too much that we can do, really, in the construction of the first stage and the second stage, although there have been some improvements. Some of the new first stages are lighter, and some of the new second stages are quite a bit lighter. This is a pretty standard second stage, a good old rugged Scuba Pro second stage. They're very, very good, but it's pretty standard. There are some smaller, lighter ones available now. But there have been some big changes in hoses. There's a long rubber hose here. There's an even longer rubber hose here. This, of course, is the yellow hose that goes to the safe second, which is really just a second stage painted yellow. There's a rubber hose here, which is your BC inflator, and there's a rubber hose for your console. You see? Rubber is heavy. Just by its very nature, rubber is heavy. So if you take the first stage and the second stage, then add all the hoses, you get a fairly heavy device. This thing weighs about 4.5 pounds. Well, it seems like a whole lot, doesn't it? 4.5 pounds, but 4.5 pounds can be the difference between getting your dive bag onto the airplane without paying an extra charge and not getting it on. 4.5 pounds. Let's see what we can do using some of the new hoses. Many of the new manufacturers are actually including these new hoses in their standard regulators. Let me give you one example. This is what Diane and myself have been using for the past year, and it's been really, really good. Works really well, first of all, and it's a lot lighter. The first stage of this regulator, Oceanic brand, by the way, is very nice. It's very compactly built, sealed with a plastic cover to give it some protection rather than heavy chrome plating. Chrome is heavy. So the first stage is lighter than normal. The second stage as well, as you can see, is pretty compact. They're very light, cycle-like, they all are. They're very lightly made and yet still rugged and environmentally protected and extremely high performance as well. What's this? What's with this white hose? This is not a normal hose, it sure isn't. Because when you take a rubber hose, a standard rubber hose, and you tie a knot in it like so, or you can't do it as a matter of fact, for this you can't, watch. You can't do that with a rubber hose. These flex hoses, and they come by different names, but flex is the easiest way to describe them, are very, very strong, very, very light, and very flexible. Half the weight of a rubber hose. Same applies to the safe second hose. High vis, yellow, and flex. Take a close look at this and you'll see that these are not rubber. You can see the surface. The outside surface of these is not a rubber sheath. It is, in fact, a very highly flexible nylon sheath. Low pressure hose as well. Look at this. Extremely lightweight, extremely flexible, and makes for a very, very lightweight overall thing. You can take this regulator and roll it up into a tiny, tiny bundle like so, and stick it in your glove compartment if you're so inclined. You can put it into a tiny, tiny little bag, and there you go. There's the whole regulator. Fits into one hand. My gosh, look at that. Now, I've cheated a little bit. You notice I do not have a console on this regulator. Instead, I have a transmitter. You see? This is a transmitter that sends the air pressure in the regulator to my wrist computer. It lightens the regulator a little bit. I want to have a computer, and obviously a wrist computer is quite a bit lighter than the console. But there are some ideas. Now, some people will say, those flexible hoses, I've heard that they're not very good. Hey, any new technology has teething problems, and several years ago when the first flex hoses came out, there were a couple of problems. It might help if you understand how hoses are made. Hoses, this is a cut open high pressure hose. Hoses have a very, very strong and airtight pressure-proof inner core, quite small. Then that is wrapped with several layers of strong nylon, a nylon mesh, not unlike the treads in the tires on your car. That's how strong it is. And then it has a rubber coating. Remember, rubber is heavy. Well, this rubber coating is just there for looks. In fact, if you hold this just right and rotate it, you'll find a row of holes right up the hose. It's supposed to be there. This is not supposed to be waterproof or pressure-proof. It's just there for looks. So if you take rid of all of that, keep your inner core, wrap it in a very strong nylon mesh, leave off the rubber coating, you end up with one of these nice, new, super lightweight, super flexible hoses. And the latest styles come out in the last year have proven to be very, very strong. So take a look when you go to your local dive store. Ask if you're looking for a new regulator or you're getting some changes made. Ask them about the flex hoses, and I think you'll find they're very much lighter. This regulator weighs about 2.5 pounds. That's a pound to a pound and a half less than a standard regulator. Again, not a whole lot, but it could make a difference. It certainly is a lot more compact and easier to work with. Just some ideas for you to share. Hope this has been of some help to you. Alec, Peirce, Tech Tips, Scuba 2000. Talk to you again soon.